Hello everyone, welcome to today's training. Today we are going to be diving into data analysis. We will begin by importing our data and we're going to inspect the data, and we are going to play with the Xarray. Uh, just a quick reminder, if you are watching this video, you need to ensure you have Python installed, you have your packages installed, especially the pandas and the matplotlib, and you've been able to cover the rest of the video so you can catch up to where we are. We're going to use the ideas of what we've learned in the previous videos to build on those understanding so we can make progress. Just for quick office practice, I usually encourage you to, the first thing to do here is to make sure you know your working directory. So I'm going to go ahead and find my working directory. So today we are going to be working on module 4. So I'm going to open it because I'm using the latest window. I'm just going to right click and say copy address. I showed you in the previous video how you can also copy the paths. That's going to work. So you're going to try to load your Anaconda prompt. And we have an Anaconda prompt loaded. So I'm just going to try to activate my new environment, right? So I'm going to say Conda activate my Joken. Okay. And we can always do Conda env list. So we want to see all the environments, and then we can see which environment is active. So right now I have the base. The base is the environment that comes with the first time installation of the Anaconda on the Python. Then I have the new environment, which is the environment that I want to use to work there. So the star here shows an environment is active, which is the Joken. So I'm going to change the directory. So I'm just going to say cd, which is change working directory. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put the new directory, and it's recognizing it. So I'm in that directory. So Python is going to load in the same directory where my folder is, with the data set is, so I can work from that folder, and I can move with this command. I can change folder and I can explore other folders as well. So let's see what's going on. Let's load the Jupyter Lab. So I'm going to say Jupyter Lab, and I'm going to let it to load. So it's going to open because I set the browser to use to be the Chrome. So I'm going to use Chrome, and then it's open to the module 4, which is what we are working on. And I have the test Python notebook, which we are going to be using Jupyter Notebook there. So let me try to bring it in. And so this week we are going to be trying to play with some of this data, and we'll understand. So I want to show you a new library which I want us to play. We are going to compare using the regular pandas and also the Xarray. So if you start doing advanced data analysis, and I'll show you very soon why the Xarray is very powerful and why you should use it in addition to using pandas, right? So we use the indexing approach in pandas. So we index columns, we index the rows, and if we can index this column, we can call the data out, we can use them, we can manipulate the data. And for Xarray, we can do much more, and I will show you why Xarray is very powerful. But we don't have Xarray, so deliberately I did not install Xarray ahead of time because I want us all to do it in this video. So I'm going to try here to run it. If I comment the last one Xarray and I run the library, the pandas, because in the previous video we already have pandas, so everything will be fine. It tells me I don't have any problem. But the moment I go, I want to I uncomment it, and I want to run the Xarray. I want to import the library because we use the import command to import the library Xarray, and we import it as XR if we want. So Python is going to complain, so no module name Xarray. So it means that in my environment I don't have Xarray, and we're going to see that. So let's try to go back and see what's going on. So I'm going to open a new Anaconda prompt, and we can play and see what's going on there. So let me switch to my environment. So Conda activate Joken. and I would say conda list. So I want conda to list all the libraries that I have. So remember we had matplotlib and we had the pandas the last time. So let's search. So from P I have the pandas. So pandas is there. The matplotlib is there with other dependencies. But when we scroll down to find Xarray, we can see here I don't have Xarray here, so I have to go and find a way. So I go back online and find. So I would say conda install Xarray, and I'll see the first one, usually this one. So I'll have this is the Python command. So it's called consign. We're just going to copy this command and go back to my inside my environment, because I'm using a Joken environment. So make sure I am working on the right environment, so it's active. So I'm just going to say Control V or paste it. So let's see what Panda will do. So conda install the Xarray. It's done. It's checking and looking for any issues, updates, problems, and trying to solve them where necessary, resolve them. Sometimes we have libraries not matching, or we have other libraries blocking a library. So we're going to say why miss. Yes, okay. All right, so we are so done right now. Okay. Let's now go back to the other work. So I can go back to my notebook, and then I'll try to restart it. So we see a button here. It's going to reload the page. So I'm going to try to reload the page. That's the first thing to do. And if you don't want to reload the page, what you can also do is to go ahead and kind of restart kernel. So I kind of click here, I'll say restart the kernel. So it's going to say restart. So just kind of rebooting the kernel. So when you reboot your system, your environment, everything is just going to restart. So it's going to update. So let me try to run it now. So it works now. The Xarray can now be found. And we can go back and inspect it. Let's go back to our environment. So now I'm going to say conda. So if I don't want to type, I don't want to keep typing the same command, I'm just going to hit the up and down arrow. So the up arrow is going to give me the alert. I keep hitting. So remember that all the commands I've written are going to be they're going to keep coming. So I have the up and down arrow. I'll keep hitting them to that. So I want to see the one that is conda list. So hit enter, and now we can look for Xarray. We have Xarray now. This is the Xarray, which is already installed. So that is one way we can know that we have it. All right, so now we have the pandas, and then we have the Xarray. So the idea here is that normally we can use pandas to read in the data, and then we can just work with the pandas data. Then we can convert that pandas into a data frame. Of course, pandas have to convert the files into a data frame, and we can subset it, we can index it and work with it. And I'm going to show you that, how we can quickly do that. We can inspect it, we can find out more, and then we can start looking at Xarray and why we should use Xarray. And also the purpose of this video is to show you how you can set up your environment properly, so you can bring in your files and you can put the file in the right format you want, and you can start inspecting the file, which is the first thing you need to do, is to inspect the file. You want to plot things like the box plot, the histogram. You want to understand how the distribution of the data is before you can start working on data. If there's a problem, you want to know how you can clean the data. So data cleaning is part of the first thing you need to do or understand as data analyst. And this is just the basic, right? We can go advanced, but I decided that we need to start from the basic so we can all mature together. So let's see what we are going to do now. So right now, you see here, I'm using a command called read CSV. We have another command called read XLS. So I can have read XLS, yeah, read XLS is another one, but you have to put the path, the sheet number, and the range kind of. So you need to put the path. Yeah, we have several kind of arguments that need to go in, how many rows, columns, the sheet names, and all that needs to go in. And that's most reason I prefer using CSV. But if I want to do multiple work in one Excel sheet, because the difference between the CSV and the XLS file is that the CSV can have multiple, the XLS can have multiple sheets, but in the CSV you can only have one sheet, right? You just work with that sheet for a while. So let's see with the so this data we got this data. The data is in XLS format, right? And we're going to try to convert it to let's see. Yeah, so we're going to try to convert it into a CSV file. Come in, let's see. Okay, let's go back and see. I want to show the file extension, and hold on. Let's see. Okay, I'll do that in the next video. I'll show you how you can display the file extension, so you can know if you don't have it in your computer. There's a way you can do that, so you can have all the extension showing up somewhere in the settings. We can easily do that. Okay, so I'm going to open the XLS file, and then we can work from there. So this is the XLS file, and I just received this file from one of the students in the class. So I have not played with this file before, so we can all play with the file at the same time. The file have like ranking, like names. I think this should be like sports or games, kind of. I see Super Mario and all that stuff. W2 Sports, the platform, the year. Then we have the different genres there. We have the racing, the sports, the puzzle, the music. So all these are, and then we have the publishers. This seems to be a very good data set. So, and we have the NSAs, the European Union, right? This seems like JP sales. That seems different kinds of sales here. And EU, in my understanding, this could be European Union. JP should be Japan. I'm not sure. I need to confirm. I need to get the metadata. And that is the one thing you need to do. You want to be able to ask questions like, what is the data metadata? You need to understand what each column or what data represents, so you don't just work with data. But for the sake of this class, we're just going to try to use Python to open this data. But when in a good working environment, you want to be able to understand the data you have and make sure you provide the metadata for other people to use the data. So the data is in SLS. So how do I convert it to CSV? I just need to go over here. I go to File, and I go to Save As. And I don't touch anything, so just the same folder is going to give you the same path. I just bring it down to CSV, comma, delimited. So this one is very good in the sense that Python is more understanding in terms of how the data is sorted out. So I'm just going to leave it as CSV, and I'm just going to hit save. So I converted it from XLS to CSV, right? And I'm just going to save. It's going to create a copy. Don't show this again. Let's see what's going on. Don't show this again. So let me try to close this. Now we have two files, right? So I'm going to try to refresh this. So we see we have the CSV file and we have the other file. Let me see. Yeah, always use Excel to open this. Always use Excel to open this. Okay. So you see we have two files. The difference most time if you look into the icon, this is X and you see this kind of an A before after the X, but we don't have it here. Show like multiple sheets, show like just doesn't have it. And you can also move your cursor on it and you try to, but I'll show you how you can add the extensions of your file if they need be, so you can play with them. Okay, so let's go back to Python now and see how we can bring. So now we have the copyright, we have the CSV file and the XLS. So we want to read in that CSV file. So the first thing is we use DF, usually mean data frame. So we use a PD. PD, remember, is pandas, right? Because we are importing pandas as PD. So we are using the pandas to read in the CSV file. So this is a command in Python called read CSV. The last time I showed you we have read SLX. We have other reading files formats we can. For CSV, we use the read underscore. So we say pandas read underscore CSV, and then we can bring in the file. So this command is basically telling the program that so we can put the data in a different folder and then the script in a different folder, but we need to point the paths where the data is found. We need to specify that the location or the pathway of the data. Well, in this case, I like putting my script and the data in one single location. Then I don't need to define so much path. I just tell it to use this path. So let's try to run this and see that's. So now what happened is that the program have read in the CSV file using the read underscore CSV and pandas, right? So this is part of pandas command. Panda recognize this and then pass it to a data frame called DF. So the CSV file is now converted to data frame and saved in a new object called DF. You see, so one thing again we can do is what if I use, someone say, what if I use pandas? What if I don't want to use as? I don't want to change the name of the library, right, as it's being imported. Well, most times we want to do that for short name, like we use numpy, we say np for numpy, and the rest of them. Matplotlib, can you see mpl, right? So it makes it easy for us to, we don't need to be writing matplotlib all the time. We want to use shortening representation there. So now this is another command. So now we want to start inspecting the data. So we have written the CSV file. We want to start inspecting. As a matter of fact, we can directly inspect here. So if I put df now, and this is going to kind of run it and show me the data. So this is data that we have. We have the rank. So the Python program is going to create its own index. That's the first thing. So the Python create its own index. That's the first column you see. It wasn't in the CSV. We can go back and look at the CSV. In fact, we can open, and this is the beauty of the Jupyter notebook. You can open like a notebook. You can read the notebook. You can even read some document using the Jupyter Lab, right? So you see, we can use the Jupyter to open the CSV. This is the CSV directly and see how the CSV is arranged. We'll see. And one thing you notice is that Python kind of create its own ranking, right? So we're going to see why Python does that. So let's go back to the original document and let's try to open the CSV file and see. You see, we have the rank, just the rank. That first column is the rank, the name and platform, the year, the year, and the rest of the column. But when we go back, we'll see that Python have created its own rank, because And Python is easier. This is for indexing, and it makes it easier for Python to call. So for Python, the first one is going to be 0. Remember we talked about this earlier, that 0 is the first one there, right? So this shows us that we have 16,598 rows, and then we have 11 columns or fields. So the fields you have are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there are 11 of them there. Global sales, 11 of them, 11 columns, and 160 and 16,598 rows. Quite a lot. So I'm going to try to comment this part. Then if I run, just clean it off. One thing we can also do is, just want to show you what we can do again real quick. We can try to use, so I'm going to say df1, in this case data frame 1 is equals to, so instead of saying pd, I will show you, we can just use the entire pandas, right? We can say pandas dot read underscore csv, and let me just bring in the whole of this in here, and let's run it and see. Name pandas is not defined. Let's see, because we have already changed this here. So the idea is, if we try to not use, if we try to just import the library the way it is, what happens? If I run this time around, so I have, it's called pandas read csv. Now you see we've recognized it, and this is not going to work again. Oh yeah, because we still have in memory. So we have, if we try to restart the kernel, and that's one thing you want to always do, make sure you restart your kernel, because that way Python is going to always try to remember the previous memory. And yeah, because PD is not recognized again, so it's going to give error. But this time around we have pandas as pandas. So just say pandas is pandas, and then again we can inspect, and we're going to see the same data. So the idea here is, the reason we use as is to kind of use a new name, assign to a new name, and that makes it easier to read. All right, so now we've established this, let's kind of proceed and not waste much of time. Let me restart the kernel and run import the libraries again. So now we have a PD. I don't want this, I'm going to delete this one. And this is never going to run if I do this, because it's not going to know what D1 is not defined, because we don't have it. So we have df now. All right, but we don't want to work like this. We want to be able to, so why do we use, how do we use pandas? We use pandas by, we index, right? We do indexing and all that. And we can then proceed to inspect the data. So when we inspect data, because we have 16,000 rows, Python may not be able to print everything. We can print everything quite all right? So for example, in fact, let's do that, let's print it. So we can do print, and we want to print the df, and see if Python can print everything. Yeah, we're going to have issue with printing everything, so Python is going to select and all that, but we can actually force it to print. But one thing I want to tell you is that in the case of working with large data sets, we might just want to see a part of it, right? We don't want to print everything. We want to see a part of the data. For example, we want to see the head. So when you use data frame.head, it's going to, and we say, okay, print 5. So it's going to print like the first 5 rows, right? Let me see. Oh yeah, we have to close this, sorry. We have to close the brackets. So see, Python is going to try, so what it does here is to print the first 5 rows. So start from 0 to 4. 0 to 4, which is like, 1 to 5. So that's Python ranking, 0 to 4. And it's going to pick the headers. So we'll have 11 of them, which is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have the rest of them, probably they're cut off. But the idea here is you can see the first 5 rows, the top. And if we change that to tail, we want to see the tail, right? We can print. It's going to print the last ones, right? That's the bottom of the data. And pretty much that's what we have here. If we want to inspect the data, it's going to see the last 5 data ends in 16,600. And we can see that here, 16,600 in terms of the ranking. And we have other data at the base also to inspect there if need be. So that's how we can inspect the data. There are further things we can do then. For example, we can try to describe the data, right? We can try to see. So this is going to return statistics of the data, right? So if I run this, it's going to try to return. So what it says is, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have some rows. Let's see why we don't have everything. The reason is, yeah, this is why we don't have. So Python is going to pick just the one that are numeric. It's going to pick only the numeric column. So this is not, this is alphabetic kind of, they're non-numeric column because they have alphabet, right? They're more like words or text, the name, the platform. But look at the year. The John is non-numeric. It's non-numeric. Publisher is non-numeric, but we have sales, all the sales. So that's what Python does. You just look at the columns where we have numeric, and try to summarize the statistics. So what it does is it looks at the count, right? How many counts of data do we have, right? In terms of the way we ranked it, what is the count? And try to, then you get the mean of the rankings, the mean of the year, right? The mean of the maybe North American sales. I think this NA mean should be North American sales. EU should be European Union sales. JP maybe Japan. I'm not so sure. We'll have other sales, global sales. So you can look at the mean, the standard deviations of the sales, the minimum, the 25th percentile, the 58th percentile, the 75th percentile, and the max. So we'll look at the max. What's the max for each of those sales there? So we can use this describe to kind of summarize the data. And then that brings us to Xarray. One thing I wanted to show you real quick is, before the Xarray, let me see if I can quickly do that. So what if we have, we can try to use the df, so we use kind of this curly bracket, and we try to use that to kind of subset, and that makes it more peculiar. But then we have to think about the way Python reasons, right? Because Python uses this indexing, and the indexing starts from zeros, right, to have the columns and the rows. So we know for sure the way Python thinks that the 0 row is the first row, right? And then also the column. So we have the dimension of the row dimension and the column dimensions. And we can look at that in the next lesson, where we can go deep into looking at how we can use pandas to index and then do some analysis with those in those index, and we can do more. I just want to show you real quick in this video how to import data, and then how we can inspect the data real quick and perform some simple statistic summaries, and introduce it to a concept of Xarray. Xarrays are beautiful. Why do I say that? If we use pandas, we cannot call the column by name. We call it by the position. So we know that the column position, this is column position 0, and this is row position 0, column position 1, column position 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. The same thing with rows. But with Xarray, we can call it by the name of the column. And that is the beauty, right? So in Xarray, dimensions can have names like the time, the latitude, the longitude. Here we have the year, the rank, the North American sales, the European sales. Names are much easier to keep track of than AXIC numbers, and Xarray uses dimension names for indexing, aggregation, and broadcasting. And we're going to look into all those. Let me show you real quick how Xarray works. So if we already have it in pandas, right? We just want now convert our pandas data frame to Xarray data frame. So I just call it Xarray grf and I'm gonna run it. So we have converted this into the Xarray right now, and we can further go ahead now to kind of, let's print this first one and see what we can find. So this is the idea. So like I told you, converting to array is the idea is this. The idea is this. If you look at this data, we took each of those columns and we pass them as a data frame on their own. They not have their own data frame, like kind of an index data frame, and by defined by data variable names. So we can call each row and we have the data. But one thing we must be aware is that the length of the data have to be equivalent. They have to be the same, right? If they're not the same, we can write a kind of a command, a shape command, to shaping the structure of the data. That way the data structure matches, and we can slice, we can then manipulate the data the way we want, and Python is not going to complain. So let's try to show you what I'm talking about. So now we have the Xarray data frame. So one thing I can do, for example, I want to call the rank column. I can go ahead and say, okay, I can say rank, and in the rank, I want it to go to the data frame, which is SI data frame. And in that data frame, I want you to in data frame, because it's a variable name, so I want you to pick rank. And let's try to run this. So we have this now. Then let's kind of print rank now. So let's print rank. So we can call individual column the way they are. We can call individual columns the way they are. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah. And we can then work with this data. So we can work with rank alone and do what we want. We can bring in the rest of the column. We can do that. So I can then try to get the rest of the indexing, like the name. I don't need the name, but we're going to do some advanced analysis next time. We're going to try to understand how we can summarize by identity or by common. Maybe where sales is this, what are these, what is happening here. So we're going to write some advanced commands next time, and we'll try to analyze the data that way. But the idea here, what I was trying to bring to your attention is, you can see how easy it is to kind of, instead of using indexing kind of location in pandas, right? We now use the variable name to call that field, and then we can work with that field. So that is the idea behind this data importation and data inspection, pandas and Xarray. We're going to do multiple examples next time. This week is just to introduce you how you can bring your data in CSV and explore the data and then summarize it, and know how you can slice the columns and the rows. And next week we'll continue with the slicing of the columns and the rows, where we'll go in detail showing you how you can use the pandas to index and how you can use Xarray to do more advanced analysis, and then we can try to implement the functions where necessary and write some advanced data summary statistics. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any question, and I'll be happy to help you. For this video, your assignment for this lesson is trying to explore. I want you to try to explore other rows, other columns, right? The way I have these, so I want you to try to explore and try to print them, and kind of describe what you see when you print them. What's going on, right? What are these information we have? Like, why is the D type integer 64? The data type, right? Why is this so? Right. So if we do, let me see. You see, I added dot values. How do I get the exact numbers? I don't want those weird stuff, right? I just showed you real quick there, for example. I don't want us to go deep into this. I'm trying not to drag us into more complex stuff, so I want us to do it next. So I have rank, right? The rank is this way, but I don't like it the way it is, so I want to see something more clean. I want to see the real number. I don't want to see data types and all. So I can go into that subset data frame and do kind of a print or whatever. Or I can even rename it, but should I do that? No, let's just go ahead and just do what we need to do. So we use the values, and I try to print it, and now I've seen the clean number, so I see the clean values. So sometimes it's easier to work with this. So this is the best way. I want to use this to plot or do some analysis, right? Yeah, I have to convert this into an object. So we can do, let me see, rank values, and you want to have this. Okay, let me see if I can do. Of course, I cannot plot, and you know why I cannot plot. Who can tell me? You know why I cannot plot? Because I don't have the plot library. Yeah, so these are the things I wanted to do, like play with things and say, oh, what can you do? What cannot be done at this stage? So later on, we are going to start plotting the data, right? And then we can bring in the matplotlib libraries and other. So try to explore the rest of the data, which is the rest of the variables, using just use the Xarray for now. Next time we're going to use the indexing method, so hopefully by then we'll be able to implement something more, and we can work from there. All right. Let's see. All right, let me know if you have any question, and thank you so much for following through and trying to catch a grasp of this lesson. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.